sort of brightens up the meeting and reminds us that it's the festive season. So never mind. I have a couple of practical issues to highlight. We have no fire drill planned tonight, so if there is a fire alarm, please make your way out of the building in a calm and orderly fashion as guided by staff. People with mobility issues should gather in the foyer on the right-hand side as you leave the Mancroft room, near to the balustrade where assistance will be provided. Toilets are at the far end of the corridors either side of the council chamber, ladies to the right as you leave and gents to the left. This meeting is being live streamed on the council's YouTube channel. I'm assuming, I forgot to check with you, Leonie, we are live streaming, thank you. Item 1, apologies. We received apologies from Councillor Padder and Councillor Hampton. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, thank you. Item 3, public questions and petitions. We have received no public questions or petitions. Item 4, questions to Cabinet members. We have received no questions to Cabinet members. Item 5, minutes. Can we confirm, please, that the minutes are an accurate record of the meeting on the 12th of November 2025, including the exempt minutes? I'm proposing that. Is there a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Unanimous. Let's move on to item 6, which is the Financial Strategy 2026-27. Could I please ask Councillor Harper to move the report?
Apologise for the delay. Okay, so this report details the new financial strategy to enable Norwich City Council to set its budget for 2026-27 medium-term financial plan. The budget is set in the preceding financial year on an annual basis. This budget must be balanced and affordable and is agreed by full council at a February meeting. To proceed with the budget setting process for 26-27, this financial strategy has been developed to ensure that there's consistency and clarity on the decisions to be made. There are several areas of uncertainty over the next few years which have been well documented, and this financial strategy sets out an opportunity to manage the budget process in a more dynamic and responsive manner. A formal consultation will form part of the budget setting process and will be directly aligned to the financial strategy and its recommendations. The dates for this consultation are from the 4th of December 2025 to the 18th of January 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jones, thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak? No, in which case, Councillor Galvin, would you please ask your question?
Thank you, and thank you for the report. I welcome the new approach to budgeting introduced by the Financial Strategy 26-27. Notably, the quarterly rebasing of forecasts and in-year reallocation of resources, which I hope. Sorry, can you hear me? It's not a very good microphone.
I can hear you, but if you want to swap mics with James's, as he's not here, that might work better.
Yes, that one's lost its little hat. Which I hope will address the massive underspends we've seen in recent years, with resources sitting unspent in one area, while at the same time urgent projects in other areas couldn't be implemented. To ensure that the new approach pays off for residents, democratic oversight is crucial. Can we please have reassurances that quarterly budget assurance reports will not only come to Cabinet, but also to scrutiny? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Galvin. Councillor Harper, would you give your response, please?
Thank you. The Scrutiny Committee sets its own work programme, and I'd welcome the Scrutiny Committee adding the assurance reports to its work programme in the future. I'm aware that training has been arranged for members of the Scrutiny Committee on scrutinising the budget setting process for 29th January 2026 ahead of considerations of the budget papers at the Scrutiny Committee on the 5th of February 2026. And I encourage all members of the committee to attend this training.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. Unanimous. Moving on, item 7, Housing Revenue Account Business Plan and HRA Budget for 2026-27. Could I please ask Councillor Jones to move the report?
Thank you. So as colleagues will know, the finances of Norwich as a housing provider must be kept separate in the housing revenue account, and we're very clear about this. This account must be balanced each year, and this paper brings forward the HRA budget for the next financial year for approval and the long-term plan for the HRA over the next 30 years. These are about homes, not just today, but homes for our next generation of Norwich residents. The detailed work that's taken place by officers looking at the long-term maintenance of our buildings is also reflected in the next agenda item on asset management, has provided a robust forward plan. This allows for investment in our existing homes, but also this includes the funding for decarbonisation of the homes we provide. It shows our commitment to creating a greener Norwich for the future. This is about how we take our housing stock forward, and these two things go hand in hand. So I'd welcome any questions from Cabinet members.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Harper. I'll take questions from Cabinet members on this item. I'd like to ask one first of all, and this, Beth, is with LGR in mind. Whatever option proceeds, there are only one or two housing providers in the area, and I just wondered whether you'd considered whether the HRA will be handed over in good shape.
You're right, this is a really important consideration, and we've all been talking about LGR a lot, and the budget, it's been an important consideration in budget preparation that we've been doing this year, and it's been worked through in great detail. This is giving us a high level of confidence in the long-term plan and next year's budget. However, you're right that raising LGR, and after this year, after budget approvals, we'll prepare a practical medium-term plan for the HRA that will give that clarity and guidance that as we move forward this period of significant transition. So we are planning for the future, but we're also very focused on that this stock is going to transition to a new provider. So we need to be working on that housing and not just focusing on the fact LGR is happening. It's the here and now and our residents today that are important, but it's about being sustainable, whoever's going to provide this in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Does any other Cabinet member wish to speak on the item? Councillor Harper.
Thank you. I really welcome the commitments to decarbonisation in this report, and I suppose I wanted to ask a question about, the significant commitments around that, and I just wanted to ask how we can be confident that the forecasting we've done for that, in terms of the resources that will be required, is accurate.
Thank you. So I think it's important to say that we've already got decarbonisation work underway, and I'm sure you'll have seen that on properties in Lakenham. We've got them different examples across the city, and this is giving us a good idea of those real world costs and options. And we've also been successful in our approach of attracting additional funding, and it's really great working alongside Councillor Hampton with that, that supports what we're doing for our housing stock. And we need to combine this with a good knowledge of our stock, and that's why we've increased the work we're doing on stock condition. I think we're now at probably about 70% of our stock has been surveyed. This detailed work supports how we then will invest that money, and that helps us be more informed about what the costs are going to be, because we understand the stock that we're needing to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Does any other Cabinet member wish to ask a question? No, in which case I'll move to questions from political group leaders that have been sent in advance. Councillor Galvin, would you please ask your question?
Thank you, and thank you for the report. It's really good to see that focus on decarbonisation, something we've asked for a long time. The business plan states at point 43, and I'll quote from it: the principal approach to decarbonising the stock is to electrify heat across the stock. This means gradually replacing gas boilers and other fossil fuels heating systems with heat pumps, which run on mains electricity. This approach decarbonises the stock because the UK's electricity grid is being decarbonised by the government. Therefore, by ensuring all energy used in the stock is electric, including for heating, the council can be assured that the stock decarbonises and reaches net zero. Can you give me an assurance that all new council stock conforms to this policy, and none are built with polluting, expensive gas boilers going forward, that means.
Thank you, Councillor Galvin. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Galvin, for your question. The Council set out in Policy 2 Sustainable Communities at the Greater Norwich Local Plan, adopted in March 2024, that all new housing development must, including our new council stock, must be built with sustainable electric heating, such as individual heat pumps, connection to low carbon district heating systems or radiant heating systems, thereby avoiding combustion technologies for heating. Since its adoption in March 2024, Policy 2 of the GNLP is already guiding decision making for planners. However, additional guidance on complying with the policy will be provided in supplementary planning documents, which is currently undergoing public consultation. So we do stick to that guidance. That's our commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. We'll now move to a vote on the vote on the item. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, Rob. Item 8 is the Housing Asset Management Strategy. Could I please ask Councillor Jones to move the report?
Thank you. Part 2, as I referenced before. The new Housing Asset Management Strategy is bringing together and coordinates the work we're doing to both maintain and improve the homes in Norwich that we're responsible for as a housing provider. You'll have seen in the previous item of the HRO business plan that looking after these homes accounts for the majority of expenditure in the housing revenue account. It's vital, therefore, that we have a clear approach that ensures we're getting the most from that expenditure. The new strategy provides a modern, joined-up approach that allows us to invest in our housing for the future, as well as coordinate work to ensure our residents have a good place to live now. This strategy is vital in making the connection with their residents and putting their needs at the heart of our assets. It also facilitates high level of collaboration needed between numerous teams and technical disciplines, so we ensure we provide safe homes and meet the regulatory requirements we have as a major landlord with more than 14,000 homes.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kidman. Thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on the item? Councillor Harper, then Councillor Kidman, please.
Went off. Having previously been Councillor Jones' Cabinet support for housing and being a self-proclaimed housing nerd, I was very excited to see this strategy. I think one of the challenges we sometimes face is that things like this can seem a little bit dry, and I'm sort of keen to bring to life a little bit some of the real world benefits that residents can expect as a result of the strategy. So I wondered if you could perhaps just comment on those.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Thank you. And yes, I think this is why for me it's not just about houses, it's about homes, and this strategy is about the commitment and priority that we give to investing in these homes. Residents will see a number of benefits from our approach. I think particularly decarbonisation, which will mean it's not just about greener homes, words like that, it's about warmer homes for many residents, and often it's making those financially more sustainable for them. We're committed to finding homes in modern facilities that are shown by the new major works contract that we've recently agreed. This will underpin our work to improve our day-to-day service as well, meaning better repairs experience around the times where there is more major maintenance that's not needing to take place. So I think it's about lots of different things that come together as part of this strategy. It's about warmer homes, it's about cheaper to maintain, hopefully, for residents on a day-to-day basis in terms of heating, things like that. But it's also about having that investment and being able to join things up. So it's about a kind of better experience of their home for residents. I think everything's about keeping that resident at the heart of it for us.
Thank you. Any other Cabinet member wish to ask a question? Councillor Kidman. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to see how safety has been weaved through the strategy and the clear priority it's been given. Can you give us reassurance that Norwich is meeting all the new regulatory requirements that have been introduced in recent years?
Councillor Jones.
Thank you. I can most definitely give that, because I think it's probably a fairly large chunk of my portfolio holder meeting on a on a fortnightly basis. And I'm not going to go through all those changes, but I would say priority in the strategy is also present in our more day-to-day work. So it's across both. So as I said, I do regularly discuss this, but it's something that we dive into. We both look at us at a high level, but we also dive into a lot more detail, particularly when we're looking at there's new stuff that's coming, but it's also about keeping track of older stuff. So we've currently work is very much focused on things like damp and mould, but also it's about ensuring that wider compliance work that so much work has gone into over the previous few years. So it's about keeping overview of so many different areas. We do look at that both at a high level, but diving down into details needed, and particularly around safety and compliance and things like that. I would direct people to look at housing highlights online, because I think that information is important that everyone looks at and sees that level of assurance that both is for me as a portfolio holder where I can dig into it, but I hopefully that will give residents, tenants and council colleagues that assurance as well.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Galvin, would you please ask your question?
Thank you, and thank you for the report. The strategy states that the council owns and manages 17,500 homes that make up 30% of the city. And through them, as a council, we have a huge impact on many lives and communities, as you say. I'm glad to see the focus on listening to residents, safety, compliance and energy efficiency, all areas which this council has needed to improve on. Although it's welcome that this housing asset management strategy goes through to 2020, it does not look at the issue of significant parts of our stock being in need of total regeneration. When and how will you start to look at the buildings which likely need to be demolished as they are no longer fit for purpose?
Thank you very much, Councillor Galvin. Councillor Jones, would you give your response, please?
Thank you for your question. I'd say significant progress has been made in terms of stock condition surveys to establish the condition of our housing assets, and this is used to inform our investment programmes. The requirement for this continuous piece of work is set out within the proposed housing asset management strategy. This document sets out approach to the continued investment plan for a housing stock, linking back to the HRA business plan. Within the asset management strategy, section 7 identifies our proposal to undertake an asset performance exercise commencing in Q1 of 26-27, which will identify lower performing stock using, among other parameters, data from our stock condition survey. Those identified as lower performing be subject to options appraisals to help establish the most appropriate investment options for these homes and areas, which may include reinvestment or regeneration. I think it's really crucial though, we've got to do this on an evidence base. So we need the biggest amount of stock condition information if we're going to do that, because as I said, this is people's homes, their communities. So we've got to, and our tenants' money. So we've got to make the most prudent financial decisions for those tenants, but also their homes and their communities and their families and the impact to that. So it's not something it's something we're doing in a very managed way, but it's something that's been very much a focus of mine since becoming portfolio holder, is understanding our stock and understanding how we invest in that we are getting best value and best results for our tenants. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. Unanimous. Item 9, could I please ask Councillor Harper to move the Treasury Management Mid-Year Review Report?
Thank you. This report provides details of the Treasury management activity for the first 6 months of 2025-26 and highlights compliance with the Council's Treasury management strategy and policies which have previously been approved by Council. This report was considered by the Treasury Management Committee on the 11th of November, who noted and endorsed the report for consideration and approval at Cabinet. The report recommendation asks Cabinet to note the contents of the report and in particular the Treasury management activity undertaken in the financial year to the 30th of September 2025 and recommend it for approval by Council. The Council has adopted the CIPFA Code of Practice for Treasury Management in the Public Sector and the Prudential Code for Capital Finance in local authorities and operates its Treasury management activity in compliance with these codes. The codes place responsibility on members to review and scrutinise Treasury management policy and activity against prudential indicators. This report sets out a range of indicators and highlights that there are no breaches to alert you to. The council remains significantly internally borrowed and has continued to repay maturing debt without refinancing. During July, the council was also able to redeem its £5 million money market loan early and earn a £554,000 discount off the principal due. Cash balances available for investment enable the council to maximise its returns in the current interest rate environment. The council's treasury management activity continues to be monitored against the wider economic backdrop in accordance with Arlen Close, the council's new treasury advisors and the council's treasury management strategy. I'm pleased that this report illustrates the positive management of our cash balances and debt portfolio, and I endorse the recommendations set out in this report.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jones, thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on this item? Councillor Jones.
I think I'd just like to say, it's an opportunity to thank Councillor Harper for her work as having taken on a portfolio that had sat with someone for a number of years and giving a very consistent approach, but a very collaborative approach as a Cabinet member. I'm really welcoming the work she's doing with this. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Does Councillor Galvin, would you care please to ask your question?
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Given significant member and resident interest in ethical finance, which you'll be aware of, it's disappointing that there's no separate report compiled summarising the actions undertaken in response to the scrutiny request around ethical and sustainable management of investments and cash balances. For the sake of transparency and oversight, can a separate report please be made available that summarises how the council responded to this topic form and what findings emerged from the exercise? It's kind of buried within this report, but it's sort of, for process, needs to be separate, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Galvin. Councillor Harper, would you care to respond? Thank you.
So at its meeting on the 5th of November 2024, the Treasury Management Committee noted the 19th of November 2024 scrutiny topic, ethical and sustainable management of the council's cash balances and investments, and resolved that it would be appropriate for the Treasury Management Committee to undertake this piece of work as part of the normal business of its committee's work plan. As a result, the Treasury Management Committee received 3 update reports at its meetings during 2025 in January, April and July, with a final report and recommendations submitted at its 11th of November 2025 meeting. The report for the July update was considered by Cabinet in September, and the final report made in November is the one being considered by Cabinet today. Officers have diligently followed up on the scrutiny topic actions throughout 2025, and the Treasury Management Committee noted the Council's new Treasury Management Advisor commented that Norwich City Council's ethical and sustainable management of council cash balances and investments framework was well developed.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. That's unanimous. Item 10 is concession contract for the operation of the pavilion and cafe and/or sport hub and pitches at Slough Bottom Park. Councillor Hampton would have moved this report. She's unwell and therefore absent. So Councillor Harper is going to propose the report. Thank you, Councillor Harper. An hour ago.
As I was saying, I literally found out I was proposing this. I think an hour was generous, actually. Councillor Stannard, I think it was as I was heading down the corridor for this meeting. But nonetheless, I am very pleased to be proposing this report for the concession contract for the operation of the pavilion and cafe and sports pitches at Slough Bottom Park. As I think this is an important step forward in our efforts to complete the regeneration and improvement of Slowbottom Park and invest heavily in one of our poorest communities. The concession itself is organised into 2 lots. So there may be an operator that chooses to bid for both lots and run the pavilion and cafe and sports pitches at Slowbottom Park. We note that the tender is worth approximately £7.5 million over 10 years, and will include commitments to make sure that there are a range of affordable options to encourage resident participation with the 3G pitch, and we are committed to keeping costs low, including operating off-peak provision for local residents and community groups. Some of the challenges around this, have been well documented, and we know that there are, some concerns with the 3G pitch, but the funding applications are very, very clear that a 3G pitch had to be included within the bid. Nonetheless, there's been a huge amount of local support for these services going in, and I'm completely confident that we are going to see great uptake from the local community, and a huge amount of investment in facilities that have been in decline for a number of years. So I think this is a very exciting step forward in this process, and although I may not be best equipped to answer detailed questions on this, if I can't answer any questions, I will endeavour to reply to people quickly once I've had the opportunity to speak to officers.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kidman, thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on the item? No, in which case, Councillor Galvin, would you please ask your question?
Thank you. Yeah, not a detailed question, you'll be glad to hear. While it's good to see the improvements planned, it is staggering that the people of Marlcross were not directly consulted about what they wanted to see this £9.2 million spent on. It's good that the sports pitches are going to be subsidised, although I note you say off-peak, although the materials used must be guaranteed environmentally friendly and monitored for microplastic contamination. And it's important to check that this is taking place. The funding was supposed to benefit local people. So, for example, Friends of Slowbottom Park need a place to store their tools, Green Hearts need free use of the room, and the cafe must be run for the community, by the community, with affordable, healthy, locally grown food on offer. Local groups would also like to see the pavilion operated as a not-for-profit community project, linking local food growing initiatives with the cafe and providing training and routes into employment for Marlcross residents and skill sharing initiatives. Can you guarantee that this will be the case?
Thank you, Councillor Galvin. Councillor Harper, would you care to give your response, please?
Thanks for the question. This is an exciting project that's going to see nearly £10 million invested into one of our most deprived communities. And it really does represent a once in a lifetime, once in a generation opportunity to transform facilities and improve health and wellbeing outcomes for the people of Marlcross. The project will deliver some of the best and most accessible sports facilities in Greater Norwich, including a new all-weather football pitch, a sports hub with a changing places facility, a multi-purpose pavilion with a cafe, public toilets and a community room, a new accessible destination play area, an upgraded BMX track and significant improvements to pathways and landscaping. The extremely tight timescales imposed by the previous government for levelling up funding did not allow for consultation prior to the bid submission. However, since the award of the funds, there's been extensive engagement with the community to ensure the project reflects local priorities. The tender for the cafe has been designed to ensure it is run for the community, with operators required to demonstrate how their proposals will deliver social, economic and environmental benefits. Friends of Slowbottom Park will have free use of the community room for monthly meetings, and the space will be available to other local groups at an affordable rate. Environmental standards are a key consideration. Materials used for the sports pitches will meet strict requirements, and monitoring for microplastic contamination will form part of the ongoing maintenance checks. In addition, the current infill will be replaced in due course once an environmentally approved material becomes available, ensuring the highest possible standards for environmental protection. The ambition for this project is clear: to improve health, wellbeing and life chances for Mile Cross residents. This ward currently has a life expectancy 3.7 years below the national average, and children's social mobility is amongst the lowest 10% nationally. Evidence shows that investment in sport and community assets helps narrow gaps in inequality, improve life satisfaction and create pathways into employment. Our commitment to community benefit, affordability and sustainability is embedded in the tender documentation, and we're determined to appoint operators who share this vision. We will continue to work closely with local groups to ensure these ambitions are realised.
Thank you, Councillor Harper. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. That's unanimous. Item 11, IT infrastructure refresh. This is in the name of Councillor Padder, who has sent her apologies this evening. Therefore, I will move the report. This report seeks Cabinet approval to delegate authority for awarding the IT infrastructure refresh contract covering April 2026 to March 2031 to the Executive Director of Resources in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Equalities and Social Justice. The purpose is to enable timely procurement decisions aligned with operational needs and strategic priorities. The capital funding for this refresh, estimated at £550,000, has already been approved by the full Council in February 2025 and confirmed by the Capital Board in September 2025. The infrastructure in question, servers, storage and backup systems, was installed in 2020 and will be 6 years old by 2026-27. At this stage, hardware becomes increasingly unreliable, costly to maintain and vulnerable to security risks. Procurement will proceed via a compliant framework, preferred over the open tender for efficiency and support coverage. Delegated authority ensures procurement can be executed swiftly and responsibly, avoiding delays that could compromise service delivery during local government reorganisation. The proposal supports the Council's future-proof Norwich priority and aligns with its equality, diversity and inclusion strategy by ensuring inclusive access to digital services. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kidman, thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on this item? Nope, that's fine, thank you. Over to you, Councillor Galvin. Would you please ask your question?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the report, which says there are no viable alternatives. Inaction is not advisable. A full cloud migration, while potentially an option, would not be right at this stage, as it could compromise both programme delivery and operational stability. Norfolk County Council is currently using a cloud system which allows for easier upscaling and protects them from the upfront payments of hardware life cycles. With local government reorganisation on the way and in-house servers no longer the norm, this council should prepare for the possibility of a cloud migration being brought by the new authority before this hardware will life cycle out. Can you confirm that this possibility is being considered in the procurement process?
Thank you. I will respond. The Council already uses cloud services for HR, finance, email, some web services, and is migrating shared folders. However, some critical systems cannot be moved easily due to supply constraints and integration complexity. A full cloud migration at this point would introduce significant risk to programme delivery and operational stability, especially during local government reorganisation. Norfolk County Council's environment is also not fully cloud at this stage. We do not know what applications or solutions the new organisations will select to deliver services. Moving everything to a cloud platform now could result in a second migration later to align with the new authority's chosen solution, creating unnecessary cost and disruption. Furthermore, the selection and procurement of new systems by the reorganised authority or authorities may not be completed by vesting day, which means our current infrastructure will continue to age and could compromise operational stability if not refreshed now. Therefore, the procurement process focuses on refreshing core infrastructure to maintain resilience while continuing selective cloud adoption where feasible. A full migration remains a longer-term consideration, but is not part of this immediate cycle. We'll now move to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. That's unanimous. Now, item 12, full approval of the housing revenue account compliance contracts. This is once again Councillor Jones.
Thank you. So undertaking fire risk assessments to the buildings we look after in Norwich is a vital part of us meeting our safety obligations. This contract is the provision of fire risk assessments for the next financial year, starting in April 2026. Approval is going to allow us time to prepare fully for the programme of assessment over the next year. There has been a change in contractor in this area, and this is an example of our absolute commitment we have to the safety of our residents and shows the quality control and expertise we have in place of the officers managing this area. Assessments have continued to be carried out this financial year, and our focus has remained on this throughout. I would particularly like to thank Paul and others in property services for their incredibly diligent work they've done around FRAs and other areas of compliance that ensure that both I as portfolio holder and most importantly our tenants can have the appropriate assurance that we need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Harper, thank you. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on the above the line report? I've got a question I wanted to ask you, Councillor Jones, which is why do you feel this is a good contractor who will do a better job than the previous contractor? And could you confirm that the safety of residents has been effectively managed through this process?
Thank you. And from my discussions with officers, there are practical things such as the company being efficient to work with and responsive, but the key point is quality of the assessments themselves, and that's really important to us. The information provided in the assessments and the way recommendations are framed is clear, and this contractor has impressed so far in this regard. And I think it's in terms of safety being managed throughout this change. The ending of the contract with the previous provider has been very closely managed. It's something that I've scrutinised in my portfolio holder briefings as well, and I've been pleased to see controls in place to manage risk of this transition. This ensured that all our high-risk buildings have been prioritised and that we do not have any overdue remedial fire actions. So I hope that can give a good level of assurance to colleagues.
Good, thank you very much, Councillor Jones, for that answer. Does any other Cabinet member wish to speak on the report? No, we'll move then to you, Councillor Galvin. Would you care please to ask? Oh, there've been no questions submitted by group leaders. Apologies if I just gave you a heart attack. We'll move on. Does any Cabinet member wish to speak on the exempt appendix? No, in which case we'll move straight to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, Rob. That's unanimous. Item 13 is managing assets non-housing. Councillor Harper, would you please move the report? There may be a need to exclude the public, but after you've proposed, and we've proposed and seconded, and then we'll move on to see whether any Cabinet member wishes to speak on the exempt appendix.
Okay.
So we'll have proposer, seconder, questions from
Okay.
comments by Cabinet members. There's no question from the opposition. So at that point, we'll ask whether anyone wishes to speak on the exempt appendix, if that makes sense.
It
Thank
does.
you.
So under the Council's strategic asset management framework adopted in March 2022, Cabinet typically approves an annual schedule of property disposals recommended by the Property and Economic Development team. The most recent list was agreed by Cabinet in March 2025. Occasionally, circumstances arise that require additional disposals outside the annual schedule. For example, when a tenancy ends or when the Council receives an offer to purchase a non-housing asset. This report seeks Cabinet approval for the disposal of 3 such assets. So I would like to move the report.
Thank you very much. A very straightforward report. So do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kidman, I saw first. Thank you very much. Does any cabinet member wish to speak on the item? No. There have been no questions submitted by group leaders. Does any cabinet member wish to speak on the exempt appendix? No. In which case we'll move straight to the vote. All those in favour?
Unanimous.
Thank you, Rob. That's unanimous. We now move to item 14, which is exclusion of the public. I will move that we exclude the press and public from the meeting during the consideration of items on the grounds that it involves a likely disclosure of exempt information as specified in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, or it being confidential for the purposes of Section 100A2 of that Act. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jones, thank you. We'll now move straight to the vote on that. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. And we'll just wait while the